What is happening, mediocre people of YouTube? So, as promised, I am going to show you the secrets of, setting up a Charvel guitar. Now, these aren't really secrets for anybody that's played for a while and took an interest in maintaining their own instruments. But for a beginner, it's certainly, there are things you can do to improve the setup and the playability of these instruments. This guitar here that I bought almost at the same time as this one was set up already very, very nicely. This one it feels great. It's the same guitar with the exception of this one has just a master volume, this one has a tone and a master volume. Otherwise, they're the same guitar, Charvel ProMod San Dimas. This one had not had a thorough setup. So when I set up my Kramer just recently, like I said, I'd forgotten how glorious this guitar is. I said, it's time for me to go back through this guitar because the only thing I did was throw some new strings on it when I got it. I adjusted the neck a little bit, which probably really didn't need a neck adjustment, but that was what I needed to do to get it as close to where I wanted it. I like a very low action. A lot of players like a very low action. I'll just show you at the 12th fret here on my Kramer. Let's see. It's barely anything right there to fret the note. I like that. Some people don't. A lot of people do. Some people like very high action, and there's nothing wrong with either way. Whatever's most comfortable for you is the way to do it. So I'm going to just sit here on the floor and do this, and I'm not going to make you sit here and watch me go through a string change. I'll go ahead and pull the strings off of this. Also, my world came crashing down about a week ago when I went to get strings for this guitar. I use Elixir polywebs. So I can't even remember the last time I didn't put Elixir 942 polywebs on a guitar. They didn't have them in stock. So I went with these, which is Diodario's version of coated strings. I really like them. I like these a lot. Now, I don't use coated strings for some of the reasons that some people use coated strings. Some people use coated strings because their sweat in their hands is so acidic that it rusts regular strings. I don't use coated strings for that reason. I use coated strings because I like the way they feel. They're very fast, in my opinion. They're very fast feeling, and that's why I use them. So anyway, I'm going to pull the strings off of this, and then I will show you guys a few things. Again, these are not, I know I said the secrets, but these are really not secrets at all. However, there's certainly things that a beginner wouldn't know about, and that's what I'm hoping to do here is kind of help the beginners to get a better idea of how to set up their new guitars. All right, let's set you guys there, put you on pause. Alright, so this is only the second time I've changed the strings on this guitar. And the first time I changed them is when I bought it. And like I said, I just did a very general and quick setup on it. These guitars, Fender owns Charvel now. These are the ones that are made by Fender, and they are doing such a fantastic job of manufacturing these guitars anymore. The necks are perfect, the frets are perfect. So one of the things you can do right off the bat, okay, so again, this is for the beginners. When you buy your guitar, a new guitar, and it's never been set up before, the action's gonna be set relatively, to my standards, what you would call high. It's going to be in a mediocre range. excuse me, because they don't want things buzzing out on you and you coming back to Guitar Center, wherever you bought your guitar, Sweetwater, and saying, oh, the frets are buzzing. So they're going to set the action, in a very general, at a very general height. So one of the things you can do, if you like a nice low action like I do, is if you go and look at your Floyd Rose, in this case, this Floyd Rose is secured by 2 screws on the top, meaning it does not go through the neck. Like you'll see some Floyd Roses go through the neck. On the ones that go through the neck, you would just use the Allen keys and remove it through the neck. In this case, we're just going to remove these 2 screws, this one and this one. Let me pause you and remove it. As you see, I've already knocked my nut over, but so when you pull this off, you're going to find at least 1 shim in here, okay? A lot of times you'll find 2. In this case, there was only 1 in there, so you can clean that out. If you find 2 shims underneath it, I would recommend just removing one of them, small increments at a time, small adjustments at a time. Since there was only 1 underneath mine, I'm going to remove this because I know that this action height at the 3rd fret is a little high for my taste. So I was expecting to see 2 shims. There's only 1. I'm going to get that shim out of there. I'm going to put the nut back on. Now, when putting the screws back in, I want you guys to start it off the right way. And this goes for all the screws that you remove on a guitar. It can be especially important when removing the neck. So when you put your screws back in, and righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, right? So you're going to go right. No. First, you're going to turn it left until you feel and maybe even see. Where's it at? There, right there. Did you see that? I'll show you again. I'm going to start this screw. And what you'll do is you're going to feel and even see a click when you turn it counterclockwise. Not clockwise, but clockwise is going to tighten and you're going to go clockwise. But before you do, you want to turn it to the left until you feel and see this. Right there. That just happened. So what that is that's the threads lining up. It can be especially important because this way you are making sure that you are putting these screws back in the threads that they came out of and you're not cross-threading. When you start cross-threading screws into wood, it becomes a problem down the road, and then you have to have somebody either fix it or you have to learn how to fix that stuff yourself. Most people can learn to fix this stuff themselves unless your name happens to be Terry and you have a channel called the 3Gs. No matter what you do, you will fuck it up. So then once you get that, especially on these nuts, just snug is wonderful. You do not have to go crazy with this, okay? Snug is great. Now, when you're removing the necks, this becomes more important because when you strip the neck threads, that can be a real pain in the butt because those have to go in properly. So now that I have this, and it should be completely in place where it belongs because it came out and went back in exactly where it belongs. So now that I took this shim out, make sure you guys save these shims. They can come in very handy later on for something else, another Floyd Rose that perhaps you have to raise it a little bit, or whatever. You want to keep this stuff wherever you keep your guitar parts, but keep it together, mark what it came off of, which guitar it came off of, so that you know. Some of these are marked. The ones that aren't, you're going to have to take a micrometer, measure them. It's always good to get a nice measurement so you know what size shims they are, because as you go on with this stuff, you'll know that, oh, this shim would probably work in here. This size shim will work very well for this particular guitar. So it's nice to know the sizes. All right, I got to restring this, so you guys are going back on pause. So there's plenty of videos out there showing how to restring guitars. And that's why I'm not showing a restringing, because you guys can find that out. I will suggest that, you know, if you don't have a stockpile of these things here, the string ends from cutting them off from the Floyd Rose there, I would suggest hanging on to some of those, because you never know what you might use them for in the future. There's all kinds of little things out there that in videos you might go and check out. People have used those for string tees, string trees, modified their string pulls with those type of things. Also, when you're working on something like, say, getting a twist out of a neck, if you get all involved, you know, here, let me just stop real quick here and show you guys something. What we're working on today doesn't require something like this. You know, this right here, and we could put it on here in order to do this string change and the adjustments. We could certainly put it on here if we wanted to, but we don't need anything like this. And this is a neck jig. This is really, if you're doing fret work, it's a fantastic way to do fret work. And if you don't know how a neck jig works, you can kind of look it up and see the theory behind that. It's a very efficient way to do a neck. I will bring my fingerboard level with me, just because I want to see where my neck is at. I will try to, I'll start off with as flat as possible. What I usually generally do, and a lot of other players generally do, is when we set our necks, we will have a very slight amount of relief in it around the middle of the neck, 7th, 8th fret, something like that. Just a very small amount of relief, and that's kind of how I like my guitar setup for the most part. Not every guitar I own, but anyway, I'm going to keep on going with this. Okay, so you guys don't really need one of these fingerboard levels, or I forget the other name for it. But what I'm doing right now, they are helpful. What I'm doing right now is I'm looking at my neck, and I'm looking to see, I'm looking for light in between that. And so what I'm seeing right now is that all the way down, my neck is relatively flat, and that's great. I am not tuned up to pitch, and in fact, I'm going to turn this camera off. I'm just going to go over a few things before I do turn it off, and if you guys request it, I will show you how to kind of fine-tune this, but I'm going to do that anyway right here. So, as I told you, I took the shim out of the locking nut. I can see already, even though I'm not tuned to pitch, I'm kind of close. I can see already, without a neck adjustment, that this is going to be more in my ballpark for me, the action that I'm looking to get out of this. So now that you've got that set, if you want to lower your action a little bit, the thing to do would be to adjust your neck. And that's kind of before you go adjusting the bridge, okay? You're gonna get a lot out of a neck adjustment. Same thing, righty tighty, lefty loosey. Right now, Charvel has gone with these wonderful little wheels right here. I guess you can't really see it. Try to get you in the light here. See if you can see there it is. See the wheel right there? And like, there actually is a tool made specifically for those, but like anybody else will tell you, anything that'll fit in there in that hole, you can turn it to the right to tighten the neck, or bring the neck to a back bow, or you can turn it to the left to bring the neck forward to a front bow. And I do believe these are double truss routed necks, double two-way truss rotted. I'm sorry, not double truss rotted, but two-way truss rotted next. So once you get all tuned up and you stretch your strings and everything's perfect and you've got this Floyd Rose right where you want it to be. What is that? I didn't see that little blemish before. I must have just done that. Nice. And you're trying to adjust your action. You want to just small, very small increments, just like this very small increment of taking that tiny little shim out of here. You're going to adjust your neck in very small increments and see how your action is. You're going to adjust your bridge in very small increments. Again, when you adjust your Floyd Rose, this is tuned to a half step down. It's going to be pretty much where it needs to be as far as being level this way, because it was tuned a half step down when I took the old strings off of it. So that's another thing with the Floyd Rose adjusting the bridge. There's plenty of videos out on that, and you can look those up as far as how to adjust your Floyd Rose bridge. But I'm talking about adjusting your bridge up or down. Adjust your neck first. See where you're at there. That would be what I would tell you to do, and that's what I'm telling you to do. So, and then make these small adjustments in increments. Right about the time you get a little buzz, back it off a little bit. See where you're at. See how you're doing. If it's not quite working for you, you might take the bridge up a little tiny bit. Then the thing's good to do is going to be to let it sit overnight and see where it is the next day. Because it will, now these guitars nowadays that are being produced for, these are some amazing guitars that are being produced for $1,000 or less. And you're not going to see a lot of variation like you might see with some of the lower end guitars of the past. I don't see any variations with this Kramer. It was certainly not Kramer's top of the line model back then, but it wasn't anything to sneeze at either. So try these tiny adjustments. Like I said, I know I said in the short that it was the secrets of setting up your new Charvel guitar. These really aren't secrets. These are just things that beginners don't know anything about. And as a guitar player who's unlikely to be able to afford a full-time tech that's going to learn how you like your guitar setup and is going to be able to set your guitar up for you, you need to learn how to set your guitar up, because there's really only one person that can set your guitar up for you the way that you want it set up, and that's you. So like I said, it's unlikely you're ever going to be able to afford to hire a guitar tech and say, here's the guitars I've set up, this is the way I like them, and now he has a full-time job with you. You're unlikely to be able to afford that. You need to know how to do this, and you need to understand the workings of it. So for more information on this stuff, I would suggest a channel by the name of Eric C. Eric is doing a lot of custom work these days, but I would point you in that direction. Eric is extremely good luthier, and he has plenty of videos on this type of thing and how it all works together. And he probably has more patience than me and can explain it a little bit better. So until next time, there you go. There's the video as promised. Peace.